Well, welcome everybody. I'm Tamra Farah, political vlogger with Women on the Right. And you can find my vlogs and recorded conversations on political and policy topics at womenontheright.org. I'm so happy that joining me today is Austin Smith. He's the National Field Director for Students for Trump, which is part of the Turning Point USA family, and Christine Yeargin, a blogger and a TPUSA ambassador. So welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
I just love it. It'll be a great conversation. So first, we will each give you a bit of our background and some of our political activism experience, and then discuss options for you to effectively engage in helping save the country. I mean, yeah, like no biggie. We just need to save America. So all hands on deck, right, guys?
That's right.
Okay, I will start things off, and please feel free, if you're watching this right now, to put your questions in the comments below. Even though we are not live, we are going to be eagerly watching for those questions, and I will make sure that if you address any one of us individually, that we will get that answer for you. So thanks for being with us today. In my 20s, I kind of got my start in political activism when my husband Barry was in graduate school at the Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio. You know, first of all, I was offered two jobs. One is the branch manager of ADIA, which was an employment organization. You've probably heard of it. It's a national group. And another job as an executive director of what was called the Pregnancy Distress Center. This organization had 5 offices and 200 volunteers and offered alternatives to abortion to women with unplanned pregnancies. Well, ADIA offered a salary that was twice the amount of the pregnancy center. But I explained to my husband that I would rather live on less so that I could help save babies. And he just kind of looked at me like he didn't know what to say to that. And he definitely shared my passion for that. And so that was where I got my start in political activism. And it was such joy, so many women that were in those crisis pregnancies. And so then after that, kind of my second big thing that I did in my life in political activism was to work on a referendum campaign in Michigan to stop tax-funded abortions. Thankfully, we won the state, and the county where I directed the campaign, which was the largest in the state and historically pro-abortion, we also won in the county. And, you know, we won because we worked tirelessly. And so you have to be kind of up for it when you engage in saving the country. It does take work. Now, of course, you can kind of, you know, manage your time and balance it with everything else you have in your life. But it's not for the faint of heart. I'm just going to be honest. But for me, it's always been a passion. So, you know, we worked tirelessly. Like I said, we, of course, had precinct meetings around the county every night. You know, where I attended to rally the troops. We were on the phones relentlessly, and there was no auto dial back then. So we're like literally dialing every call. We had an incredible team. And so, you know, those two things really marked my life, I think, for political activism, even though I had some years in between where I wasn't as engaged because I was very busy, like I said before, kind of seasons of life and how much can you manage at any given time. And more recently, I've worked for Americans for Prosperity, which is the largest grassroots economic organization in the country, as a communications director and deputy state director here in Colorado, as well as a political consultant and campaign manager and communications director on a number of races in our state here in Colorado. So those are just a few things, and wanted to give you guys just a vision for some of those things. Austin, share your story with us.
Sure. Well, I'm super excited to be here. I'm very fortunate to be a part of this broadcast. And my name is Austin Smith. I'm the National Field Director of Students for Trump, which is a project of Turning Point Action, a 501c4 organization. I used to be a director with Turning Point USA, and then I was fortunate enough to be asked to come run the entire operation for Students for Trump last year by Charlie Kirk. And we have over 360 Students for Trump chapters at some of the biggest Division I universities in the country. And unfortunately, before the lockdown because of China, we were registering anywhere close to 2,000 new voters a week on these college campuses nationwide. And that's almost unheard of. And one of the reasons why Bernie Sanders is not the Democrat presidential nominee is because Students for Trump out voter regged all of those leftist groups on campus, and we kind of got them with their pants around their ankles, so to say, and they were not aware of what was going on. And so that's just been really the honor of a lifetime to run the organization that's reelecting the president of the United States. No other group is doing what we are to reelect Donald Trump, whether on college campuses or in some of these certain congressional districts. I'm also the chairman of the Maricopa County Young Republicans here in Arizona. Maricopa County is the largest Republican county in the country, and 2020 runs through Maricopa County. I'm a proud fifth-generation Arizonan, and in 2018, we took kind of a beating up and down the ballot. And a lot of people think that the most government is going to really hurt you is the presidency and the congressional races. That's not true. It's always your state and local races that really affect you more than anything else. And so I was a campaign manager for my state senator last year. We won very effectively. I still advise her from time to time. Her name is Sina Kerr, and we did such a well job in the primary in 2018 and the general and governing in 2019 and 2020 that she has no Republican primary challenger and no Democrat challenger. So I pride myself very highly on making sure that the best race is an unopposed race. And that's the type of mentality that you need to keep in campaigning. I come from a farming and ranching background as well. That's kind of why I got involved in politics. I grew up on a farm, on ranches, anything you can think of, milking cows, cutting hay, raising pigs, raising chickens, raising horses, breeding horses. I've done it. So that's my background. And that's why I got involved, because we never had somebody on the other side of the table that would advocate for us. And so I got involved and started recruiting candidates that are involved in production agriculture and sales and the science to be involved, whether that means to run for a county position with the party, county position for the county, running for the state legislature, running for Congress. And I try to pride myself that on Tuesdays, because if nobody else is going to jump in and do it, then who else better than you? And so I also, and my last little part is I serve on the National Young Republicans Leadership Fundraising Board. Me and three other YRs across the country, here in Arizona, one in Texas, another in Florida, and one more in Pennsylvania. We're responsible for helping advise the National Young Republicans when it comes to raising money. Here in Maricopa County, we outraised the Maricopa County Young Democrats by almost 200% in 2019 alone. That's almost unheard of, and so we were going to replicate that with the national organization, because there's no reason why we can't do that everywhere else on a grassroots level. So that's the rundown. I'm extremely blessed to get to do this, to fight for your country every single day. If you do what you love, you'll never work in your day in your life. And farming and ranching and politics, those are all three of mine, and I don't feel like I work ever. So
that is so fantastic, Austin. You're such an inspiration, and I know you are as you travel around the country and you interact with the students. And what an incredible response that Turning Point has been able to have to the efforts on college campuses 4 or 5 years ago in the last presidential race. And just the fact that you and Turning Point have just gained so much ground, just stirring up and recruiting and energizing and mobilizing conservatives on campus. It's awesome. Yes. We're so excited. So thanks for sharing that story. Christine, we'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And Austin, what a resume. So I'm much more of a baby when it comes to politics compared to you two. I kind of got my start with the pro-life movement. I had an unplanned pregnancy myself and kind of just felt really called to the pro-life movement. And that's probably the most controversial thing I feel like you could really feel called to. So I've gotten involved with Turning Point. I've been ambassador for them, the Falkirk Center. I've done a lot here in Denver or Colorado with Initiative 120, which we're trying to ban late-term abortion. Colorado is a state that has you can have an abortion at any time for any reason, and there's no limits on it whatsoever. So we're trying to get it to where you cannot have an abortion past 22 weeks with the exception of the health of the mother. And we just got that on the ballot, which is fantastic. We got over 1,000 signatures, which is just a huge feat by a ton of volunteers. And so we're really right now pressing into the education aspect of that. So when it comes November, everybody knows what they're voting for. And then I've recently also started a conservative women's group. It's called Conservative Women of Colorado. And I just noticed it wasn't a place for women to connect with like-minded people and feel like they could talk to each other without being ostracized and shamed and all of these things that leftists are doing right now. So what I'm doing is connecting these women with local candidates who they can help if they want to make a difference. I'm noticing more and more with the COVID stuff, with the riots and everything going on, people are really getting fired up and riled up. So I'm trying to connect those people with the right people to be able to help make a difference, whether that's the GOP and volunteering there and registering voters, or helping campaign, stuff like that. Just be that kind of middle person that makes that connection for them.
I love that. I know you have more to share, both of you, and I'm excited to get to it. So it's awesome. And I'm a part of Christine's group, and it's a wonderful place to have a conversation and encourage one another as conservative women in Colorado. So thank you so much for starting that group, Christine.
It's growing like crazy. I mean, honestly, I didn't know how for something like this for women to be able to help and jump in and connect and just find out what's going on. You know,
Absolutely.
A lot of people do that, and media, you know, gives you selective information.
That's very true. Yes. So thanks again, you guys. So we've already shared, really, in a way, a number of ways that people can engage because they've heard how we're engaging. And I'm hoping, that the stories we've shared so far will be an inspiration for people that are listening. We also want to hear from you guys. Again, I'm mentioning, speaking now to those of you who are watching. Feel free to comment below this video. We will answer your questions. And if you have any specific follow-up questions about any of the things we've shared that you might want to learn more about, please don't hesitate. We will make sure and get that information to you so that you can connect, maybe even with some of the things we've already mentioned. Austin, what are some of the specific ways you've given us an overview of Students for Trump and some of your involvement in state politics and local politics and various groups you're involved in, and you're just a wealth of knowledge in engaging politically. What are some of the ways that you feel people can jump in as activists? And we'd just love to hear from you on that.
The most powerful position in the Republican Party is being a precinct committeeman. The precinct committeemen vote on party bylaws, they vote on party leadership, they vote, essentially the person who's the precinct committeeman is the local neighborhood Republican leader. And precincts is where votes are counted. So people who lead the precincts for their local Republican Party, for their county, for their legislative district, are the most powerful people in the party because they are essentially the grassroots of the grassroots movement for the party. And it's very simple. Now, most elections have already happened or will be, or deadlines have already happened to become precinct committeemen, but you have the opportunity after the election to get appointed to become a precinct committeeman. I'd be happy to help you figure out how to do that where you're at in your state. It's very simple. Usually it's just reaching out to your local county Republican Party and saying, I want to be a precinct committeeman. They direct you to your legislative district. It's very easy to find out which legislative district you live in. First and foremost, that is the most important thing that you can do being involved. Now, a lot of people think that, the county chair or the governor or the congressman are the most people who are going to have the impact on the party. It's not. It's people who are involved in the precincts. Those are the ones that actually make the biggest difference. I'm a precinct committeeman here. I'm also a state committeeman, and I'm the youngest delegate right now going to the Republican National Convention, just from here from Arizona, not to I think there's one other gentleman from North Carolina. He's a little bit younger than I am, but that's what we're kind of missing. And a lot of people don't understand that. I would go on these LD tours for Maricopa County and just to raise some money and get the name of the wires out there. And one of the things that they always ask, how do we get more young people involved? It's like, well, let me recruit them and I'll bring them to you. So there is a big push right now. Before the deadline happened here in Arizona, we submitted over 80 names of young Republicans under the age of 30 to be precinct committeemen here in Maricopa County alone. That doesn't include some of the other counties, Pinal and Pima. So that's the most important thing that you can do is become a precinct committeeman, because if you don't take over the party someday, it's just going to die off. And the party is a vehicle, and we have to have that vehicle. The conservative movement is our beliefs and our values and what we stand for, but the party is the vehicle that's going to be able to move this. So I would encourage everyone to reach out to their local Republican Party and become a precinct committeeman if you really want to have a change, because those are the people that represent the party.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's so key. And if you're in Colorado, you can even start off by going to the state GOP state Republican Party website, and it will redirect you to the various counties. Or you can just Google, honestly, for example, here in El Paso County Republican Party. You will quickly come upon the web address for that and be able to get a lot of information, whatever county you live in. And thank you so much, Austin, for sharing those practical ideas. That's what it comes down to. So, Christine, I love the way, you and I've talked about this before. You love to do things that also involve your children. You've still got, I'm an empty nester, and I'm very excited to see my kids' passion growing for politics, especially through all that's been happening. Thankfully, they just drank the water in this house and grew up conservatives, and they are deeply rooted conservatives. So I'm really grateful for that. But I've seen a whole new side of both my kids with all this government overreach through COVID and what I call excessive emergency powers. So that's been exciting for me as a mom of adults, watching them step into what that looks like for them in their lives. But also, that stage of life, a lot of men and women are in a stage of life where they have young kids. And I love your heart, Christine, for involving your kids in the things that you do. And even if you could share a few of those stories too. I know recently you've done some things, and then just whatever other suggestions you have for people.
Yeah, I mean, there's really all kinds of stuff. Myself, I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Excuse me, she just turned 4 today. 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And for my 12-year-old, he's starting. And I just really talk to him about everything that's going on. And pro-life is my hot button issue. Abortion is my hot button issue. So that's what we focus on a lot. And he is the product of me choosing life. So that's something that's very important too. So when I went out collecting signatures to get stuff on the ballot, because we really needed a ton of signatures and they just really needed all hands on deck, I just took him with me. I threw him in the car. We went around. He came with me. We talked about everything as we were doing it and how to explain things in different situations, with all the riot things happening. And of course, there's some things that maybe you don't want to have kids involved in, but with the riot stuff that happened and the defacement of the Capitol and all the garbage that was at downtown, we went downtown and I brought him with me. We started cleaning up the Capitol, just putting them out there saying, hey, this is what people do and this is what we don't do and this is what we're going to do to change it and fix it, and we're going to do the right thing no matter what. And then there's other things that maybe aren't so political with COVID. I know you probably saw it, Tamra, because I posted it all over social media, but we did flags at the National Cemetery.
Yes.
They can't ban the Boy Scouts from doing that, which is a 60+ year tradition, I believe. And so we GoFundMe and said, hey, we'll do it. And we raised almost $10,000, bought a ton of flags, and we had over 100 volunteers come and place flags at the cemetery. And that's all stuff that kids can get involved with, and you can kind of explain things to them as you're doing it. And I feel hands-on experience is going to be something that's really impactful to them. They're going to learn the most from that rather than reading something in a book, yes. Which I'm a huge advocate of hands-on learning.
It's just awesome. It's such a great model for people. And for those of you who are joining us, I just want to encourage you, don't be afraid to take initiative when you see a need. That's really all we've all done. And, if you're inclined toward, and there's a lot of needs out there, a lot of things that need to be done, we can't do everything. And so if you're inclined towards something, just go after it. Be that change agent. Grab a friend if you want the support, you want a buddy to do it with, or come alongside and help others who are working hard to make the change already. They've organized something and they need help. So, if you don't feel like you have to initiate everything, because there's a lot of things you can just jump in on and help in an effort that's already, going on. Usually people that are taking those risks and they're out there taking initiatives to make a change politically or with policy need help. And I also just want to hit the pause button to say, some of you might be overwhelmed or intimidated so far by this conversation. You might be thinking, oh my gosh, I just can't do those things. Maybe you are a little more timid, or, you don't like confrontation. You're afraid some of your friends will ostracize you if you take a side in some of these things. Or maybe it's just that you don't know where to begin. And I just want to encourage you that I know even though I did certain things in my younger years and then later on came back to a lot of activism, I had to figure out pretty much everything I did. Like I didn't have an instruction manual, especially for the things that I initiated. We did a human trafficking legislative day at the Colorado State Capitol. I had no clue how to do that. Asking people questions and learning the lay of the land, and people started joining and helping. And so I just really want to encourage you when you break it down into small pieces, like I'm sure that was the case with both of you guys, Christine and Austin, in things that you've done. You just get in there and sort of figure it out, and just kind of go for it, because we really need to be that change. So another way to get involved is learning how to become a member of local boards and commissions. And I want to just throw out this very specific idea. This is something, we have a think tank in Colorado. If you're in Colorado and you're a conservative activist of any kind, you've probably heard of the Independence Institute. And I'm not involved in this project, but it's just something that I think is a very practical and important way that people can get involved. My friend Kathleen Chandler heads it up. We can give you the information you need if you're interested. But what a lot of folks don't know is there are boards at the city and county level, like the water board, is just one example. You might say, well, I don't know anything. But guess what? Neither do the other people that ran or that got onto these boards, by and large. And there's commissions too. But the left started targeting the seats on those boards and commissions because they know that if they can get control at the city and the county level through all these various boards and commissions, they can begin to take over that area. And so, I'm sorry to say we're a little behind on the right, but that is something I really want to encourage people to consider. And again, we can hook you up with more information, if you're interested in that. Again, I think just this will be sort of our last section here, but just to want to go back through, I kind of addressed how do we really realistically do some of these things or get involved, and would also like to hear both from you and Austin, from you and Christine on, realistically, what does this look like for people that are busy or have careers and that kind of thing?
Sure. So like I mentioned before, being a precinct committeeman, your bylaws, usually they're all the same. You're required, you usually have one legislative district meeting a month. It's always the same. It's always, a pre-planned date. It's like the first Tuesday of the month, the first Wednesday of the month, something of that sort. And as you mentioned, how important these county positions are and local boards, everybody at one point should definitely put their name forward to be on a school board. That is probably the most important position in America for somebody to be elected, is at the school board level. The water board levels are extremely important. Here in Arizona, where water is gold, we take very seriously the people that we have run for water board here, because if we don't preserve our water, we die. The state runs out of water and we all die. And so one of the things that's really crucially important is when you're recruiting other people to run for positions, or you're being recruited, make sure you ask the questions. Do the homework. Don't jump into it. If somebody's recruiting you or asking you to run and they have to pull you across the finish line, you shouldn't be in that position. That's something you're definitely not passionate about. At the end of the day, you should be the type of candidate, if you want to be involved, that you're getting pushed over the finish line. You have all these people behind you pushing you over the finish line. That's the type of mentality that you need to have when you want to get into these positions. But also understand that being in office may not be right for you. A lot of people think that politics is a dirty sport or a contact sport. No, it's a blood sport. It can get rough. Whether you're able to take that or not, that's entirely up to you. It's also going to be entirely upon your family, on people around you. I mean, sometimes a local school board race can be just as dirty and just as mean as a big governor's race or a senatorial race. So keep that in mind. Pray about it. That's my number one, recommendation. Just to continually pray about it if that's right for you. A lot of people jump into politics or running for office because they want the notoriety, or they want the fame and fortune, and that's why the conservative movement to me is so special now, is because we are having a lot of candidates that are running that come from a very grassroots level that were impacted by something, and now they're running. And if you feel that way about something, whether it's your local HOA, the school board, the water board, anything of that sort, where you feel very passionate about and you can feel that impact on you and your family and your income and your children's future, put your name on the ballot. You're going to learn more about interacting with people and how to have social skills and management skills when you run for office. And I also encourage you to learn how to manage a campaign. I don't have a political science background. I didn't go to the Kennedy School of Government and learn about running campaigns. It was baptism by fire to me. The best advice I ever, or thing that kind of really ever happened to me, was when I worked for Turning Point USA as an entry-level employee. My boss, Tyler Boyer, who you guys are familiar with, he is also the national committeeman here in Arizona for the Republican Party. And Tyler was kind of baptism by fire management. And that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And now I'm very fortunate too. I get to do what I get to do today because of that lesson very early on years ago. So don't be afraid to be baptized by fire in this type of work. It's going to take, there's going to be bruises, there's going to be falls, but there's also going to be great climaxes. So that's definitely something you should consider.
That's awesome. That's so good. What great encouragement. Christine, some of your thoughts, again, from the perspective of a very busy mom.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, running for office is going to take a ton of time. And everybody has usually at least one or two hot button issues. And if running for office isn't something that you can jump on board with, maybe you can find a candidate that cares about the issues that you care about just as much. There's a political action starting one. I haven't announced it yet, but I'm in the process of starting my own political action committee. But there's others that, focus specifically on gun rights or the pro-life issue, or, all the different issues that we have that we're facing in politics today. There's things that you can get involved that way, and you can tell them, hey, I only have 3 hours this month to do. What's going to be the best way to spend my time? What do you guys need the most of? And you can jump on board and help other people if running for office isn't something you want to do. And like you said, school board is super, super important. And even just being a parent, I think the things that I do and that other people can do with their kids is huge, because if you train them up in the way they should go, that's the path kind of they'll take. They see you taking that path, they see you taking the initiative, and they're going to take the initiative too. So I think it's not only important for us to do stuff, but to also teach our children, because like Austin said earlier, if once we die off, we need the younger people coming in and taking over for us.
Absolutely. So very true. And as we kind of head into the last segment of this conversation, I just want to take a moment to share that right now, not to state the obvious, but I would say we are in the most critical battle for freedom in this country, possibly ever. And definitely my lifetime, but yes. And the left is aligned. We can say, well, there's the radical left, there's the middle left, I believe the left is aligned right now to usher in socialism and Marxism ideals and to completely destroy the liberty that we've enjoyed in this country. So these battle lines are extremely clear right now. And I just want to, say a word about supporting our president and Republicans up and down the ticket for reelection. There's just really no real bipartisanship. I know people that work in DC that head up the policy for major national organizations. Of course, they're trying to work around the margins and get some bipartisan buy-in. But it's if there is any, it's way off in the margins right now. And so if anyone thinks that, we can somehow elect some Democrats or moderates at this time, it's just, in my opinion, not doable. We are either red or we are blue right now. And it's either freedom and liberty and saving the country, or it's losing the country and really ushering in socialism in a way we've never seen before. So, not to keep harping on this, but I just really want to encourage everyone to get out the vote for this president. We're not technically in the get out the vote season yet. The ballots aren't out yet. But really, I would encourage everyone to really urge their friends and family to understand just how distinct it is, like no other time. And that voting is the number one way that we can exercise our freedom. So even if you're listening and you're like, oh, I cannot get involved this year, you could talk to your friends if you're willing and your family and take those risks, get your facts in order, visit Turning Point USA, become part of the conservative group in Colorado. You can get plenty of messaging from organizations that do that all day long that will help you make your case. But it's a time to be bold, because we have to save our country. And we have to vote. We can't say, oh, I don't know who to vote for. You can't do that this year. And so, I know that there are people, and I'm going on a little bit here, but I want to make this final point about our president. I know, especially in the Christian world, there are people who hesitate about the president because things they don't like personally about him or his past. I'm a firm believer that the past is the past, and we don't take it into the future. And then for personal things and personality, for me, those things are beside the point. What are the policies? What is he standing for? He's standing for the liberty and the freedom that makes this country great. So please join me in voting for the president and supporting him. So Austin, you guys are working hard to reelect the president, obviously Students for Trump. So what is that looking like on campuses? What are young people doing? How are they messaging? What are some of the conversations they're having?
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, I used to be one of the Republicans that thought, liberals are just people who have disagreements with us. That's out the window now. You can barely ever find a liberal that is pretty much pro-free speech, pro-America, pro anything that resembles freedom and liberty. You can't find that anymore, and that goes into with Students for Trump. It has been a monumental and hidden secret of the work that Students for Trump has done on college campuses this year. Obviously, we were so fortunate to host the president 2 days ago here in Arizona, and we had over 3,000 young people under the age of 30 show up. Most from Arizona, some came from California, some flew in to be a part of this. There is a growing movement on college campuses and off college campuses, people that are Generation Z or people who did not go to college or who chose not to go to school, who are much more conservative than most millennials are. Given that millennials are like the largest growing pro-life generation in the country, Generation Z is 3 times as conservative as millennials are. And that's because they've been exposed to so many leftist ideas on campus for years and years and years, and then the conservative counterculture came in, and it was almost kind of like a high. That was unreal to hear this type of talk, to be a part of something like this. So the ground game, the movement is there. A lot of people don't get to hear it. The mainstream media will not ever really report about it, but the movement is there. The excitement, energy, and enthusiasm is there, and I wish more people could see it every single day. But this semester, when schools open back up, when Students for Trump does more, we'll be doing events on campus. We'll have an announcement here very shortly about what we're going to be doing. It's going to be off the charts. It will be historic that this generation that comes through between the ages of 18 and 30 right now to vote for Donald Trump will push him over the finish line in these key states like Arizona, like Wisconsin, like Florida, and like North Carolina. Will have one of the biggest impacts in presidential election history. We thought 2016 was wild with the silent majority. Wait till you see the 18 to 30 numbers in some of these key states. The president would have won Minnesota if only ages 18 to 24 voted. That is unheard of. And you're going to see that in November 2020.
Very exciting. Yay. I just want to jump up and down like a cheerleader right now. So, Dean, what are some of your thoughts about this election coming up?
I really am. I think as much as I hate all the stuff going on right now with COVID and with the riots, I really do think that's going to backfire. I see a lot of people who are becoming more bold, who are wanting to learn more things. They're saying, hey, why is my kid's school doing this? Or even unrelated to that, the medical freedom stuff that's going on in Colorado, and parents saying, no, you don't get a say in my kid's life. I know what's best for them, not you, not government. And people are saying, our business is essential. I'm decision maker. I'm the sole decision maker for my children. All of these things, I see a lot of people, and even just on my social media, I've had a lot of people message me and say, hey, I typically vote Democrat, but I'm voting Republican this year. I have not heard anyone say the reverse. I've never heard anybody say I'm Republican and I'm voting Democrat this year or anything along those lines. I'm seeing a lot of people be more bold, a lot of people really wanting to learn. And when you do speak up, it might be intimidating, but you really realize how many people out there believe just like you do. Other people say, hey, I'm also conservative, or hey, I believe the same things you do. I'm just a little afraid to say things. And you embolden them to be able to speak up. And when we have that kind of domino effect of more and more people speaking up, it just does a world of difference. And we need right now to be bold. And I'm seeing that, but we need to continue that movement.
That is so exciting. I'm really encouraged talking to you guys. And I really just trust that everyone else that's joined us today and has had a chance to listen and watch, that you're encouraged too. And again, feel free to share your comments below. We will look so forward to responding to those, and jump in. You can do it.